Everyone knows how the Second World War ended at the Siege of Berlin in 1945 and the death of Hitler, but many people don't know of a strange story surrounding Hitler's wife, Eva Braun, and how the things that were uncovered weeks later may have changed things forever. Think about everything you heard about the evil mind that tried to control the world and actually almost succeeded. He was brilliant in tactics, a true-born leader, had a sensitive appreciation for art, ascend to power using logic. How this man managed to convince one of the most pragmatic nations of the world to be part of the biggest Holocaust that civilization has ever seen before, and why he chose the Jews over other influential groups. Well, generally the arguments to support his ascension to the Reich are: Germany were humiliated in the WW1. He had his heart broke by a Jewish girl when he was young. The nation needed an enemy, so Hitler gave them. But to be honest, the truth is far more simple and dark. Eva Anna Paula Braun was born in 1912 in Munich. She was reserved and a bright young woman. Hitler and Eva were introduced by his uncle Werner, who was a rich businessman from an influential family. They soon began to get closer and closer and got engaged in a few months. Eva's family was always a sensitive subject between her and Hitler. Her family was a little bit odd. Her mother was very distant from her, and her father had disappeared when she was just a kid. Eva's mother would not talk about her father's story with her, and their relationship will deteriorate with the years. Her uncle Werner, brother of Eva's father, was the parent figure in his adolescence. After they were married, Hitler began his studies as a painter in Munich, and Eva was always supportive, until the day that Hitler decided to do a directional change in his career and became affiliated with the political parties in Germany. If you ever saw one of his speeches during the war, or if we think about his political success, you will realize that the men were pure talent. But how did an art student become so fast and so powerful, the sole salvation of Germany being an Austrian art student? That's when one of the most strange discoveries of the story points us back to Eva Braun, possibly the person responsible for creating Hitler. In 1945, when the war was over, all that the Allies' army wanted was to retrieve Hitler's body to prove to the world that he was truly dead. A lot of conspiracy theories circle around this subject, but what we know for sure is that Hitler and Eva Braun were in a bunker in the center of Berlin. When they managed to find that bunker, they sealed it, and for some reason decided to flood it completely. But why? It makes no sense. The story goes that what they found in that bunker goes beyond what the world thought about Hitler and adds more complex layers of darkness to this story. Eva Braun and Hitler were involved in occultism rituals, and that was the beginning of the evil around Hitler. When the Allies entered the bunker, they discovered several items that, by the description on one of the documents, appeared to be ancient and didn't belong to the Germanic culture. Statues of bronze and wood and the smell of spices of some kind that were later to be discovered as being burnt pieces of hair and incense throughout the place. At this point, it became clear that some kind of religious ritual was taking part in that bunker, but nobody knew what that was. At least, this was the description of John Harn, one of the American soldiers present that day, one of the only remaining men that entered that bunker. In an interview that never made the air in the 70s, John stated that, once the room was opened and everyone saw those things around the place, nobody could understand it. After a few minutes, one of our superiors asked me to take everyone out, claiming that there was a hazardous infection of some kind, and well, we left. The interview to the Auckland television show 8 News was canceled, and the official statement of the former director of the show was that they discovered John to be mentally ill, so that his statement could not be validated. John Harn died at 71 years old of a heart attack in his home in Maryland years after the interview. A French document leaked in 2018 by WikiLeaks reported that a letter from President Roosevelt's assistant Will Garnett, addressed to the French officials in 1949, contained a detailed inspection of one of the rooms in the bunker, presumed to be the room where they found Hitler's and Eva's body. The document goes, "The room was perfectly clean and everything was organized. At the walls, inscriptions in a different language, and in the center of the room, a desk with a pearl pendant with a gold circle in it. There was a cabinet in this room, situated at the left wall. It was the only wall which had no symbols, a black painted wall. Inside the cabinet, the bodies of Hitler and Eva were discovered. One of the tables contained a series of scriptures handwritten in old yellowed parchments. The linguists evaluated that those documents were written in Sanskrit. Although the US government had translated those documents, the content of those documents are classified. No item has left that room, except a wooden pyramid the size of 3 inches. That was taken by the authorities. When this story was leaked, a discussion group in the Reddit began to dig a little deeper and found a connection between Eva's past and the occultism. Uncle Werner. Uncle Werner was a part of a group of other rich figures in the 20s in Germany called Thule Gesellschaft, which poorly translated to English would be Thule Society. This society sought to study the occult and harvest its conundrum of esoterica to apply it to their business. One can say it was an ancient and modern combination like the Masonry. Some will say that this combination is far more dangerous. Like it or not, the Masonry has rules, and you cannot ascend to the superior levels at your wish. The Thule Society was different. It was a group of individuals discovering the studies of the occult and hungry for knowledge and power. A dangerous combination. Documents that were partially declassified by the US government had missing parts, and all the reports of the soldiers that entered that bunker in Berlin were so superficial that it became almost impossible to connect the dots. But by the analysis of that weird room in the bunker, it became clear that the studies conducted in that place were not Hitler's deeds. Was Eva Braun responsible for connecting with the occultism? Did things get out of control? When Hitler dominated Europe, we know he had a special thirst for archaeological and historical artifacts. He did go after the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, and even Atlantis. In fact, Hitler got a whole archaeological department inside the Nazi Party, which Alfred Rosenberg took care of. But who was the real mentor behind it? Yes, Eva Braun. At this point, you may realize what shift of figures we're talking about here, right? Eva Braun was the true influence behind Hitler, and she was influenced by his uncle Werner, and devoted occultist, but at some point things went out of control. Eva's search for the unknown impacted Adolf, transforming him into a true definition of evil. He became aggressive, relentless, and used his past to inflict pain on a group that represented the pinnacle of the most attacked religion by the occult, the Jews. At the end, something took control of him, something not human, something demonic. Eva's was the missing link into the story, but the disturbing contents of the writings present in that bunker scared so much the US government that the story was partially told. There are things yet to be answered, facts that we still don't know. A lot of fog around Hitler's death. The only thing we know for sure is that most of the time when we think about darkness, we think that we cannot see things, but we don't think about the things we cannot see. Goodbye.